If you're relying on cold outreach or paid ads to acquire leads for your SaaS product, you're missing a huge opportunity with Google AI Mode and how search is evolving with AI. And in this video, I want to show you how I'm creating content with AI, how you can do the same, and the exact process and prompts that you can use in order to create high quality content that will actually get picked up by the LLMs, so we hope, and generate leads, traffic, and revenue. So this is an example that I'll use in this video. It's a post that I did for brand marketers, which is an employee advocacy tool to help employees get more active on LinkedIn. And so it's a SaaS that I'm building. This is the post here. This is about 2,800 words. So it's high quality content, and it was relatively quick to produce. It wasn't just a one-shot prompt, and I want to show you the nuances of how you're actually going to do it, how you're going to then evaluate and optimize the post and then get it live. So a few things to start. What's important here is basically Google's documentation. So what does Google look for when they are evaluating what to surface? And mind you, this is more for search. Now in May, Google launched AI Mode, which totally changes things because it brings in deep research where it creates a lot of queries that Google will follow. But in essence, most importantly, is this notion of EEAT, which is your experience, your expertise, your authority, and your trust. And if you can include this in your post, then you are standing out from the AI slop, which is basically like a one-shot prompt that you're saying, write me a blog post about employee advocacy, and then it's creating the post. But ideally, you are evaluating what's currently ranking for that search query, how you're going to differentiate. Then you can maybe combine those factors. And then lastly, which is most important, and this is maybe where you're moving away from automation and AI, is you're embedding the post with something that's your own personal experience or your expertise. Maybe it's proprietary data, or maybe it's a case study, but something that's different. And so this is helpful to look at. This is on Google's search engine blog, Search Central, is some questions to think about when you're actually creating the content so that you're not necessarily just going from a AI prompt to publish post. Now let's just take a look, for example, at what the search engine results page looks like. So you see here now, this is a new search AI overview where you're getting more overviews that can answer this question. Here's the sources of it, and then here's where the organic links are. So this is more of like the traditional search experience. What's interesting, and what Google launched about a week ago, is AI Mode. I'll create another video that goes into this in more detail, but you can see here that it actually did a lot more search queries to identify, all right, what is the intent of this, what are the sources, and how can we put together a good answer. So what is employee advocacy? It gives some answers here, why it's important. Then we can get more specific. This is where it differentiates from AI search. It's because you can ask very specific questions, like for example, which employee advocacy tool has the best free trial. So these are all just examples that I want to show of like why you want to think about the search query, but then also the other questions that go along with it, because the user behavior is changing now, and it's more about feeding the LLM, like say Google in this case, or Perplexity or ChatGPT, and it will surface the answers. So you really want to have a comprehensive post. Now let's get to the actual post, and I want to start with just the overview of the process. So this is like the high level overview. It's maybe not as complicated as this appears here. But if we are looking at it, first we want to identify understand what our product is, who our ideal customer profile, who our ICP is, their pain points. You can use AI for this, and that's where AI is really helpful for that particular psychographic part of understanding your end reader. Then you can use keyword tools, say SEMrush or Ahrefs, or even AI to understand the keywords. So it's here at the keyword level. And then for each of those keywords, what your unique angle might be. And then you're going to maybe create the headline, some options with the headline, different formats, and then choose your headline. So now we have a start. We know what keyword we're going to be targeting, and then what the headline is. And then we'll start with the introduction, the hook, and the problem solution, and then a brief content overview. Now this is actually one of the most important steps, which is why I made it green, is you're going to create a detailed outline. And the reason why an outline is good is because then you're able to get the specifics of the step-by-step, that you want to cover in, for example, the topic, what is employee advocacy? And once you have that outline, then you're going to ask the AI to write the post section by section, one section of the outline at a time, and it will create a far more detailed and better output. And then you'll create multiple sections, 5 to 7, and then go through. This is where you're going to add in your unique expertise or authority and create your main body content. Now, what I mentioned here, create it section by section. Then you go through, maybe you're adding some examples, maybe you're making it more actionable. This is also where your content brief is important. You can include your internal or external links, and then smooth it out, make it a little bit less AI-like. All right, so now let's actually look to see what this looks like in practice. So the final output here is the outline, and then the draft, and then the visual elements that we can include. I just copied and pasted it into Google Docs, but let's see from the output what it was. So I use Claude, ChatGPT works. I think you could use Google's Gemini or other tools, deep research, but I do like the writing from Claude, and this is, they just released Sonnet 4. But here is a prompt, and so this is a prompt that you could actually use for anything, and it includes the placeholders that you could just drop in whatever it is. So it's basically like a templatized prompt that you can use, and the only areas that you would want to specify here is the 2 input variables. So what is employee advocacy? So it's a keyword that we're going to target. And then our target audience, who we're writing for, is B2B SaaS CEOs. And then using those 2 inputs, let's actually get an idea of who the end reader is. So like I mentioned earlier, what are their pain points? What are the keywords that they're going to be targeting? Let's create an outline, and then the unique angle definition. So these are all of the steps that we were covering here. We're asking Claude to come up with that in the prompt. So these are some of the outputs that we're looking for. Now this is a deep research model, so it is actually going through and doing research for these particular parts of the prompt that I asked, and then it's giving the output. So we're getting an idea of what the pain points are. So it's difficulty measuring the ROI and proving the program value, the low employee participation, and so on. So we're getting what the answers are, then the keywords to target in this post, and then we're getting an outline. So this is a 5-step outline. I actually wanted to start with the outline, a more detailed prompt for the outline. So we already got the psychographics and a high-level outline, but I wanted to get a better outline. So I added this with an example. So I'm asking for an outline and follow to refine the blog post outline to include these steps here. So 5 to 7 main sections with subpoints for each, and refine the outline. So how to make it more logical, what's missing that the readers could expect to learn from, and then a little bit on the formatting and the final output. So we have a revised outline here. And now that we have the outline, which is one of the most important parts, the second step is now let's actually write this post and write it section by section, which is important. So here's a prompt here. So use the outline above, generating an engaging introduction, that create a hook, and then start with the introduction. So I did create the introduction. This is why, of course, you cannot necessarily just go, in this example at least, from AI to output, is because you would get some nasty odd HTML in there like this, which wouldn't necessarily make sense. But now that we have the introduction and we have the outline, let's pull from that outline and let's write this out section by section. So that you've seen videos where somebody has built out maybe a content engine where you're automating this with an N8N content agent. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that's absolutely a viable option. And I'll share videos on how to do that as well. But I think to start, simplifying it and using just a direct assistant where you're messaging step by step is helpful. And then you're also able to iterate and improve on what the prompts are so that you can get a better output. And then once you're happy with what your outputs are, then you can scale with automation. So then, yeah, we're just going section by section and writing it out. The funny thing is, I think this is really important. I probably could have added it again as a reminder, write this section by section, because what happened is it actually wrote the whole thing in one prompt or in one output, which isn't ideal. I wanted it to be a section by section, and then it would be better, and then I could make tweaks along the way. But I think actually overall this is a pretty good post. It's about 2,800 words. And then the next step is, now let's actually improve this. So where I was saying earlier, Google's EEAT is really important. How can we actually improve this with some visuals? How can we improve this for the human reader? And so this is where you can include some prompts to get ideas on the visuals, the stats, the charts, the images that would help. And so we're getting some ideas here. So if you are doing this as a service for others, or if you're doing this for your own product, these are ideas where you can actually use ChatGPT, or you could even do it in Canva, or you could use Perplexity maybe to find other sources online that could support some of these suggestions here. And now I'm looking for some of the basic optimization. So optimizing for the title, the meta description, internal linking opportunities. This is where if you do have some key pages that you want to get users to, maybe it is a lead magnet to capture an email, or maybe it's bottom of funnel conversion pages. This is where you can actually include the links and ask where the most appropriate spot to include this and what the anchor text would be. So what is the text that I would use? Tell me exactly where to place it and what text to use to include so that I can send to this page. So I hope that makes sense, but it's basically using the AI to help you with the internal links. And this would come from the content brief that you would have done. Now, once you've done this, I want to show you a tool to help with the optimization part. And so that is Neuron Writer. An alternative to Neuron Writer is Surfer SEO. And the point basically is, once you have your keyword, how are you going to get this to show up in the Google search results? And actually now, maybe as I was showing earlier, the search results isn't the ideal end goal, but maybe it's actually just to get picked up by the large language models. So you can see here, the term that we're targeting is what is employee advocacy. And the way that Neuron Writer works is it pulls the top results. So you could choose a top 10, top 30, or you could choose a custom selection. And then it will help you optimize it. It will give you ideas of what words you need to include in the actual article or in the heading. And if you click in, for example, successful employee as an H1 term. So if we add what is employee advocacy, for example, for successful employee, then it will bump this up over time to 49. Not great. That's not a great example because it doesn't necessarily read so well in that case, but it will give you ideas of what keywords you can add in different parts for in the H term. Oh, actually, that successful employee I did add here should have gone in the title. The meta description. If I pull in the meta description, we should actually see an increase in the score. Let's see. The meta description should be here. So learn how B2B SaaS company. So it should be under 160 characters or 960 pixels. So let's just say there. Okay, so let's save and close. We're at 48. It didn't actually increase, but you can see now as you're iterating and optimizing, it's giving you an idea of where you can improve. A nice feature here as well is you can see what the structure is of the top results. So this is the number 2 result from Loom Apps, and then you can see all these others. So you can pull in what these H1, H2, H3, you can see the structure, and then you can incorporate that. So that's really helpful when you're looking at the SERP results, the search engine results page for something like this, and you can see what's being cited as a source, and then how you can actually improve on that. So once you've gone through with a fine-tooth comb to figure out where you can improve your keywords and what other questions people are asking, then you can send it to your final editor, a final human review, or if you want to just publish it at that point, of course, you just publish it and then distribute. That's a whole overview of the process, how you can use AI to augment your content creation and not just offload all of your content creation to AI. So I hope that helps. As a review of the high-level overview, basically you're going to do research on your topic. Maybe you've done your keyword research before. Then use AI to understand the psychographics of your target market, their pain points, their objections, their challenges, their frustrations, all that stuff. Incorporate that into the post. Maybe you're doing research, look at Neuron Writer to see what the overview of the search engine results pages are or who's being cited. Incorporate that into your post. And then you're going to be drafting section by section. Use the prompts that I provided in this video. You're going to get 5 to 7 sections, and make sure you incorporate your own expertise, your experience, your authority, and your trust, and then write it out section by section. So that's it in an overview. Scale this out and you are well positioned, far ahead of people who are not necessarily using AI with the intent of getting pulled in by the LLMs or the different AI tools, the AI overviews from Google. So if you need help or if you have any questions, definitely connect with me. Happy to help or answer questions, get you set up so you could do it yourself, or as you know, kick your feet up. Don't worry about the guesswork and I can do that for you. So thanks again. Hit like and subscribe. See you in the next video.